love and how complex trauma distorts our perception of love. Again, a warm welcome to everyone and a hello to everyone around the world who's commenting right now. I can't say direct hellos to everyone. But we have the example of Tammy and Tim. Tammy and Tim have been married for a number of years, but they laughingly tell stories of how when they first got married, they had different love languages. So Tammy grew up in a household where they would play games with each other, and when her parents played games with her, that's what really made her feel loved. And Tim grew up in a household where it was when his parents spent time with him that he really felt loved. And so Tim's looking to sit down and have some deep conversation with his wife. His wife's looking to wrestle and play games and goof around. And both of them are trying to show love to each other, but it's like they're missing in the beginning of their relationship. But soon they started to learn each other's love language, so to speak. And so we have to learn the love language of the person we're in a relationship with in order to be able to reciprocate that love, to make sure not only that they know verbally that they're loved, but that they feel truly loved in the relationship. Now, the problem is, if you've heard of the love languages, and there's 5 according to the author that popularized this concept, those love languages just don't seem to work properly in complex trauma relationships. And the reason is because between a narcissist and a codependent, those 5 love languages are all distorted. So if you grew up in a household where one of your parents was egopathic, meaning that they're narcissistic, self-centered, and egoic to the point that they focused on themselves at the detriment of their own children, if they neglected or abandoned you or abused you, they distorted your whole perception of what these 5 love languages would be. If you're not familiar with these languages, they're words of affirmation is considered one love language. The ability to tell people good things about themselves. For some people, that's like, oh, that makes me feel so loved, to receive words of affirmation from my spouse. For others, and by the way, we may have a combination of these. But for others, it's gifts, just gifts like if you give me something, if you go to the store and buy me something, if you pay some bills for me, you take care of some financial concerns for me, that just makes me feel so loved. So for some, it's going to be the gifts that they receive. For others, still, acts of service and sacrifice, personal sacrifice that's made on behalf of an individual, that to them makes them feel loved. For others, it's going to be quality time that's spent, just spending time talking, just being there, being with each other. And then for others, it's going to be physical affection. This can be sexual, but it can also be non-sexual physical affection, touching, holding hands, cuddling, hugging, and so on. So those are the 5 love languages, right? Now the problem, if you grew up in a household where you had a parent who wasn't well mentally and emotionally, was abusive, then your abuser handled those love languages in a way that was distorted or abusive. So for instance, we think about the words of affirmation. You may have grew up in a household where there was no I love you, or there was very little, very infrequently did you hear your mom or dad say, I love you. Or you didn't get built up enough. Or they only used the words of affirmation to build you up when they were really trying to manipulate you. So they wanted something out of you, so that's when they built you up. Or they only built you up sometimes, and when they did, you're like a god or a king or a queen, but then they tore you down at other times. So you can imagine how this starts to distort your perception of words of affirmation and your use of words of affirmation, or your need and desire for words of affirmation. Because if you're built up too much, you may be craving those words of affirmation later on because you got a distorted amount of that as a child. But if you were built up too much, also you could go to the other extreme where you wish people wouldn't say those things to you, and you don't trust their compliments when they give them to you. Also, for complex trauma survivors, many of them have low self-worth, low self-esteem. So when someone goes and tells you, I love you so much, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're this and that, the person is discounting it in their head. They're saying, no, he's just saying that. He just wants something out of me. I don't believe that, because they don't have that perception themselves. They don't have that perception of themselves. Also, words of affirmation. If you grew up in a household where you didn't receive enough building up, enough affection, hearing those things can be anathema to you. Someone can say, you know what, I love you. And you, I hate that. I hate those words. I hate I love. I hate all those gushy little words. And you feel like repelled and repulsed by that type of speech, or it just rolls off your back like water on a duck's feathers. And why? Well, because your perception of that love language was distorted. You didn't receive it enough, or you received it too much in an imbalanced way. And now you're going into the world with a distorted sense of love and what love really is. Or you can look at gifts, receiving gifts. If you had a narcissistic mom or dad, they might have only given you gifts as a way of sort of saying I'm sorry without ever saying I'm sorry. So it was like they do something wrong, they really lost it, they got drunk, they were abusive, and then they just buy you a toy. It'll just be a soccer ball sitting on your bed. And it's like, that's supposed to mean everything's okay. That's how they use gifts. I can kind of ruin your perception of gifts as an actual love language later, right? Or you could have grown up where you never received anything from your parents. So it feels weird for you, foreign and uncomfortable to receive gifts now. Or you feel insecure about how you should give gifts now, or maybe you go overboard and you're always buying people things thinking that it's going to show them love. But in reality, you're doing it at the detriment to yourself, because you don't have to use your money in order to show someone that you truly love them. Or you look at this one, acts of service and sacrifice, especially for those who come from complex trauma. In your background, if you were in a household where your parents constantly required you to serve, it was like you were a slave and you were their servant, and you always had to do everything for them. You had to cook for them, clean for them, massage for them, go run errands for them. You're constantly doing things. You could be worn out by the concepts of acts of service. So later on in a relationship, your husband can ask you to do one thing, or your spouse asks you to do one thing, and you're snapping on them. Like, hey, what do you think I am? Some kind of slave? Because you live like that growing up, and now it's a tender spot. It's a trigger for you. Or it could really be the opposite. Now this is how you show up to the world. You're always being that servant. You've learned to be that people pleaser. So you're always walking into every situation. Does anybody need anything? Does anyone want anything? I'll make you guys a drink. Do you? And they're like, chill. It's the break room at work. Like, why are you going above and beyond, always trying to serve everyone? Maybe if you grew up in a religious household, acts of service was really pressed upon as being something that you had to constantly do. You had to always sacrifice yourself to prove your worth. Maybe you're making sacrifices and doing service to prove your worth. And so that perception, just doing it out of pure love, is not there anymore. The motivation is now fear, because you're fearing that you won't be found worthy if you're not doing these acts of service, or you're not giving these gifts. So it distorts your perception if you come from a background of complex trauma. Even quality time gets distorted. If you had parents that neglected you, that didn't spend any time with you, you could learn to be quite introverted, quite avoidant of spending quality time with people. And so when it comes to having a loved one later on, you're always kind of trying to slide out and get space, and they're always like too clingy, and you're like, no, I'm trying to get away. And so they find you to be avoidant, and so now you get labeled as an avoidant attachment disorder, because now your style of attachment is that you're always avoiding people. It could be to the point where you're so avoidant of people because you're fearful. Once again, it's not a love language to you to spend time. It's something that to be feared. And so you don't get into relationships at all because you're afraid that someone's either going to be untrustworthy and alcoholic, there's going to be something wrong with them and it's going to come out later, or they're going to manipulate you, or they're going to use you. And so you're always avoiding people as a result of your complex trauma. Or what happens is you're on the other extreme where you are that clingy person and your attachment style is ultra attachment. You're just like anxious all the time. When you're not with them, you're feeling anxious, and then you're calling and you're texting and you're always trying to be there. Where are they at? What are they doing? Why don't they want to be with you? You're constantly questioning and feeling insecure in the relationship, all because for you, quality time is not your love language, it's your fear language. If you're noticing a theme here, your love gets railroaded by trauma. Trauma puts you into a fear state. And so, yeah, you're doing acts of service, getting gifts and spending quality time, but it's based on fear. These are now trauma responses for you. So it distorts your perception of love, your ability to emote love through these languages. It's distorted. For you, it might be with physical touch, physical affection. You might have never received it as a kid. So now to receive physical touch and affection just all feels too much for you. And you don't like it. Or you could be just the opposite, where you need it all the time. You're always trying to touch. You're that clingy, touchy, feely, please give me more, more, more. And you're always hugging tight. And you're smothering your spouse or your significant other. Or you're so desperate for the physical touch that you feel just so lonely when you're not in a relationship. And you become codependent in your need for that quality time or that physical touch. You're codependent. You're always wanting someone to be around you, to be there with you. You feel like if they're not around you, they're not there with you, then you fear loneliness. You fear being alone. You fear that means that you're not worthy. You actually equate your self-worth with having that physical affection, with getting that quality time. It's no longer a love language. It's become a fear language for you. Do you notice any similarities to your situation or a situation of someone you love in these illustrations? It's so sad that our love and our ability to perceive love properly gets ripped away from us because of the trauma that we've experienced through life. And if we've been assaulted, that can make even just the most innocent acts of love or physical affection become a trigger to us. So how are you dealing? How are you coping when it comes to love? Do you feel like you have a little bit of a distorted relationship with love now? Well, I always advise those who are in trauma recovery to avoid getting into a new relationship. So if you're already married, that's fine. But if you're out there and you're dating around, you got to stop dating, because you need to know yourself. You need to find yourself. You need to grow and you need to heal, so that the next partner you find is not the partner that you were trying to get who's going to complete you. I repeat, you must become complete yourself so that you're not trying to find another person to complete you. You must properly fix your issues so that you're not going out in the world trying to find someone else's issues who you're going to fix. So you're not going out doing more acts of service than what's really appropriate or necessary for a relationship, so that you're not going out giving of yourself, having issues around physical touch, touching too much or not touching enough, or avoiding, or being too clingy and too attached, or right. You don't want to be codependent, and you don't want to be avoidant. You want to be in the middle, which is secure. Someone who's secure is able to show up to the relationship, ready to spend time, able to show affection unselfishly, able to receive affection with love and appreciation, and able to spend time apart calmly and securely, secure that their love will still be there when they come back. That's how you want to be able to show up to a relationship. Secure. You will be able to achieve that once you complete your trauma recovery. If you want to get into trauma recovery, you can work with me directly. You can go on my website. You can do a video course. You can just watch the YouTube videos that I have, one a day. Put yourself through trauma recovery. But however you're going to go about your process of recovery, just know that there is an end in sight. To get out of the trauma mindset, there is an end in sight. And you can have true love. You can experience true love. In fact, I'll give you some tips right here now today on what you can do to make sure you're finding that true love and you're experiencing that true love. Recognize right now that these relationships that you've had with narcissistic men or narcissistic women that are abusive and controlling and manipulative, what you're in is not a true loving relationship. It's not true love that you're experiencing. I'm not doubting the truth of your feelings. I'm not doubting the depth of your emotions for that person. But that's not what love is. What you're in is an addiction. What you're in is a trauma bond. When you're with a narcissistic, egoistic egopath, what you're feeling is a fear of being lonely. That's not love. You fear being abandoned. That's not love. You feel trapped in a relationship. That's not love. You fear breaking up because you'll feel guilty. That's not love. You're in a trauma bond. You're in an addiction, but you're not in love. We get confused about what real love is because there's a lot of meanings to the word love. You have to separate the emotions that you're feeling from what true love really is. Because understanding true love and what it really is intellectual, just like understanding what anything is. So what is true love and how can you find it? Because the emotions that you're feeling, the emotions don't matter. I repeat, the emotions don't matter. The fact that you're feeling love for a person is not your sign that this is the right person. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. Do not follow your heart. Do not follow your intuition that this is the right person. All of those things, I know there's people who give you the opposite advice, but I'm telling you the truth. You have to be in your wise mind. You have to be in your higher self. Your higher self is wise, it's logical. It's analytical. It's able to look at the details of a situation, to weigh things out, to meditate on large decisions. You must show up as someone who's meditative, who's understanding, who's wise, who's complete. There is no love at first sight. That's impossible. How do you don't know the person when you first see them. The only thing you can have at first sight is attraction. You can have attraction at first sight. So what you must do to have true love is when you first meet someone, there's this window of time, this very brief window of time before you have all of these feelings that people call falling in love, which is really falling in lust or falling in limerence. Before you go into limerence is where you basically lose control of your ability to constantly obsess about how amazing this person is and how they're the next person, and you lose all control. Before you go into that, when you first meet a person, what you need to do with that person right in that window, as soon as you meet them and you think they're amazing and you think they're attractive, is you need to put them into your friend zone immediately. And your friend zone is where everyone has to stop before you get in a relationship with them, before you allow yourself to fall in love. You heard me correctly. before you allow yourself to fall in love. You have control over what you fall in love with. To have an affinity for something or to fall in love for something is to focus on all of the positive qualities of that and how it aligns with your values. That is the sparks. That's what's creating the feelings of love, is the chemicals that are being released by the subconscious, the oxytocin and the dopamine and the serotonin. It's all being released into your system, and you're feeling on a high, like you're having a drug high, because it's chemicals. And the chemicals are being released because you're focusing on all of the positive aspects of this person and how it aligns with your values. In fact, you're making up fantasies about the person. You are actually dreaming up positive things about them that you don't even know whether they really have those qualities or not. You are in limerence. That's not true love. That's not lasting, enduring love. You cannot experience true love for an individual until you know all of their faults. And how will you find out all of their faults? It will take time. So you are not allowed to fall in love with an individual until you've gotten to know them and you've learned all of their faults. So you look at them and observe them while they're in your friend zone for a long time. You allow time to pass where you observe them. You can spend time in groups with the person where you're safe, not one-on-one, where you can slip up. You're going to observe them from afar, get to know people around them, get to know other people who have dated them, get to know their family before you allow yourself to fall in love. And then once time has passed and you've observed this person, now you've discovered their flaws, you've discovered their weaknesses. Now you go into your wise mind and you ask yourself, do I want to fall in love with this person? Would it be worthwhile for me to fall in love with this person? Granted, this all needs to happen before sex. Yes. Not only before sex, before kissing. Before kissing? Yes. Not only before kissing, before hugging in a non-just pure friendship hugging way, before holding hands. All of this needs to happen. Maybe nobody ever told you that. But what's actually supposed to happen before you get physically affectionate with someone is that you've analyzed whether or not you will allow yourself to fall in love. Because the steps to falling in love are actually really easy, right? You can start doing your acts of service, your words of affirmation, and your physical affection. But here's the thing. All of those love languages can be faked. Narcissists know the love languages. It's in a book. You can get it online on Amazon for $12.99. Narcissists understand. They can flip through the book and say, oh, okay, I got to do some acts of service, some words of affirmation, blah, 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 blah. Love bomb them. And they're going to be like, wow, this is true love. And then once I have them locked into a relationship, they're either married to me, they have kids with me, our bank accounts are jointly shared, we're all enmeshed and entangled, and they're living with me. Then I can finally relax and just be myself, where I treat them like complete trash, as I have been practicing through my entire childhood of treating my siblings that way and manipulating all of the people around me, my friends, my family. Right? So you understand, they see the love languages as a way of tricking you. That is why you cannot fall in love at first sight, or on the second day, or the third day, or the first week, or the second week of knowing someone. You need to get to know them. There is no love without knowledge. You need to use wisdom. Your emotions don't matter. The emotions don't matter. They are not a sign from anything except your subconscious mind that's dumping chemicals into your system, showing you that you're obsessing over all the positives of a person. The emotions are not a cosmic sign of anything. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to your logical mind. Activate prefrontal cortex. How do you do that? The way you heal from trauma is by stimulating the cortex. The key is pausing, waiting. The cortex is slow. It's your highest mind, but it's not as fast as the emotional mind. The emotional mind reacts 1/12 of a second, bam. And it's in love, it's scared, it's fearful, it's bam, 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 bam. It's super fast. And people tell you, yeah, follow that. Follow your heart. What are you feeling? What is your inner voice telling you to do? That can get corrupted very fast because your emotional mind is loud and it's quick. You have to pause and be still. Allow the energy, emotion to flow through you. Okay, I'm having an emotion right now. What am I having? This is mindfulness, by the way. I'm feeling an emotion. What am I feeling? Oh my gosh, it's a powerful surge of just positive emotion. What is this right now? But you're being still. You're not taking action. You're not texting him. You're just being still. You know what? I'm feeling excited. Why am I feeling excited? Because this guy seems really special. Okay, all the more reason to slow down. I need to take my time because if he's the right one, I don't need to act super duper fast. I need to take my time and it will all work out properly. Let me breathe. Do I know his negative qualities yet? No. Okay. It is not time for me to fall in love. I need the whole picture. Everybody's got flaws. I need to know what his flaws are. How are you going to marry someone if you don't know their flaws? How are you going to marry someone that you don't love? You can't fall in love with someone if you don't know them. Otherwise, you're just falling in love with a concept of them, a perception, an idea. It's a fantasy. You need to get to know them, and then you can fall in love and then get married to them. You need to know, what are my future husband or wife's qualities, even their negative traits. I need to know this because everyone has flaws. So you got to learn the flaws. And that's going to take some time. It's going to take some observance. It's going to take some interviewing of people around them. You're going to interview them directly. And this is all before you fall in love. It's before you kiss. It's before you touch. It's just friend zone, friend zone. Even if they're making the moves on you, they're saying, hey, come on about that. What you think? What you think? Just tell them, hey, man, you got potential. But right now, I think it's best we remain friends until we get to know each other more. It's very logical. If he's the right one, he's going to be like, wow, she's amazing, or he is awesome. If they're the right person, they respect boundaries. Imagine that. Have you ever fallen in love with someone who respects boundaries? These people exist. That's what you're looking for. So here's a little template you can use. You want your love to be epic. Yes, EPIC. Ethical, powerful, intelligent, and compassionate. So weigh them. Are they epic? Is this epic love? Your ethics are your morals. Is this ethical? Ask yourself, is this an ethical kind of love? Are my morals involved? Am I just sleeping with them immediately, or am I holding back and waiting until I've gotten to know them and we're in a fully committed situation before giving myself to them? Have I observed their ethics? Do I observe that they're morally driven, that they're spiritual, that they have high principles? Do I see that they're guided by their principles, that they live up to who they are supposed to be? Are they ethical? You want to make sure it's a powerful kind of love. A powerful kind of love is one where you're not saying, I'm weak, I can't control myself, I feel weak in the knees. That's not power. That's not powerful. Powerful love is where you pause and you're still. And you're in control. When you are in control, you are in your personal power. That's powerful. When you do not text, that's powerful. When you do not run and rush and check your phone, that's personal power because you're outliving your life. You're not stopping everything because you met someone who might have potential. You have to continue to live your life. Why? Because you're not going to lose yourself in this relationship. There will be no point where you completely put your life on hold for this person. Because if they're right, they're going to jog with you. You're not going to have to slow down. You're not going to have to stop. You're gonna be like, hey, we're running, let's go. And they're gonna run right alongside. They'll be like, this is what I wanted to do anyway. We're running. They're gonna go with you in life. You don't have to stop your life. You don't have to change what you're doing, give up your clients, give up your practice, quit your job, change, stop everything. No. We don't lose ourselves in this relationship. You hold on to yourself. That's very important. Yourself is your likes, your dislikes, your emotions, your thoughts. That is you. You are your values. You don't give up your values for him. When you put him as everything, that's worship. You don't worship some man or some woman. No. You keep your values in the right place. That's powerful. You want to test this love and see if it's intelligent. An intelligent love is a wise kind of love. That's where you're analyzing it. It's not just, oh, I fell. And next thing you know, we were just sleeping together. And then we just lived together. We just moved in and I lost my apartment. And no, that's not intelligent. That's not an intelligent kind of love. You want to use wisdom to analyze the love. And then when you've analyzed and you realize, okay, now I know what his flaws are. Okay, now I see. Let me intelligently, wisely analyze. Can I deal with that? Could I live a lifetime with a guy that constantly walks in the house with his shoes? Yeah, I think I could deal with that. That's intelligent love. You've analyzed it out first. He doesn't want kids. Am I okay with that? There's things to think about before you get a key to his apartment. There's things to think about. A lot of things that need to be analyzed. Oh, wait, you don't have a job? You need to know these things about him. Where is he making his money? How does he make it? Where does he store it? What does he do with his free time? Who are his friends? There's a lot of questions to make sure this is an intelligent kind of love. And are they an intelligent person? Are they spending their weekends in a casino? That's not intelligent, unless they're a billionaire, I suppose. Are they intelligent? Are they wise with how they spend their time, spend their money? Are they judicious? Or are they just out partying all the time, unwise in their dealings and in their life? And last of all, that compassion, that's so important. Are they compassionate? Not just to you when they're trying to get something, but are they compassionate to their mother, to their father in their life, to children, to animals? How do they treat animals? Are they a compassionate person? Are they loving? Are they empathetic? Analyze it. You want an epic kind of love. You want an epic partner. Ethical, powerful, intelligent, compassionate. Until then, they're in the friend zone. And then that way, you don't have to worry about having a distortion in your love. So let's first work on yourself. When you gain your sense of self, when you're healed, then we're not going to lose you. And we're going to analyze your love to make sure that you have true love and not just limerence or lust.